This podcast can be found on Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube.
Hello and welcome to the Paper Prototypes podcast. I'm your host Rex, and I'm here with two guests today. I'm here with Dom2D and Fayer, the devs behind Dig Dino, one of the Season 2 games behind the Playdate. So, guys, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourselves and how you both got into game development and how you guys ended up becoming a team?
Do you want to do it, Tom?
Use it.
All right. It's hard to start. All right. I think we met at GDC, or probably over the internet first, over the social that we don't use anymore, renamed a couple times. Anyway, I think we met probably in person during GDC 2016, 17, 18, something like that. I think, or maybe even earlier. Anyway, at some point we got connected to talk, and I think we wanted to make a game for at least 10 years. We tried once a long time ago to make a tarot. How do you pronounce that?
Tarot.
Tarot. I have it in Spanish in my mind, and I don't know what stopped us. You had the art, and it looked beautiful. I don't understand tarot to this moment. I've never gotten into it, but I was like, sure, we can do something with that. It was supposed to be like a card game, and we tried, and it didn't work. I don't remember why, and that's it. I think we tried to, but we both got super into the things that we were doing at the time. And fast forward to now, last year, I think, Tom, you either left your job or I was about to finish ARC or something, and we started talking about making something probably. And it's just right time, right place to start doing something. We tried a bigger project, and then I suggested maybe Playdate, because I kind of wanted to do something for it because I had it and it looked neat. And I asked them, hey, do you have a device? And he said yes. And we started talking ideas, and that's how it all connected to doing this little game that I always forget. I pronounce it Dig Dino because in my mind it's in Spanish with the dig. And when someone pronounces correctly, I'm like, oh, that sounds different to what I'm used to. But yeah, that's to start. That's, I think, how more or less things developed between us. We wanted to make a game, and finally we got to. And it's a good one, people say, so I'm happy about it. I don't know, Tom. Yeah, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's wonderful. But I guess more generally, we're just for our general profiles. I'm a game designer and an artist. I've been drawing my whole life, but I've been also making games since I'm 5 years old, trying to make more Super Mario Brothers levels on graph paper. But
Are you an artist by trade? Did you study?
I studied graphic design a bit, but not art itself. So that's why my art is a bit naive or a bit different from people who actually studied it. And then, so I got into games by working at a company that was making casual games. And then very shortly after that, I got into making Flash games on my own. And that kind of started my indie game career. And I think that's when we started talking, because we both had very interesting kind of alternative projects going on. So I think that's how we connected.
Yeah, I remember seeing your art on socials, and you talking about game design and stuff. And I'm the opposite. I studied engineering, computer engineering, and so I started to program, and I always wanted to make, I was always interested in games. So I got into it just by trying to do it. And at some point when I got really into it, I started a studio in Mexico. That's where I'm from. And it worked, and it continues to work, even though I'm not there anymore. And I was making mobile stuff, and I started programming, and then I got into game design because I needed to understand how to do things, but I never studied game-related stuff, game dev-related stuff. And we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Again, and the thing about not remembering exactly why we didn't finish the game is because to me now that game seems pretty doable. The design side maybe was the problem, but I don't remember that being the problem. It's just it never really started, which is, I don't know, how do you feel about it, Don? But like to me, a lot of like little projects that I start with people, like that's the problem, is like just connecting and finding the time and like just matching with the right person to do it. That's what mostly stops. And it mostly happens early. Like it's never been in like halfway or like more into a game before it stops. It's mostly like finding how to collaborate with someone else, because it's a lot of, I guess to me it's like finding a partner like romantically in a way, because like, you have to match the other people needs.
The right time.
Right time, right window. Having the time also like to do it, because if we're mostly working on our own things or like our real jobs, it's difficult. But then also like if you're good at something that it's like complementary, like you are to me programming, sometimes you don't design the same things, or you don't like the same game design space, so it also makes it hard to like I love your art, but if you want to do something that is completely opposite to what I want to do, then the match is complicated, and then that ends up also like not helping to develop the stuff.
Yeah. So it's great that we found a small project that fitted. It was a right match at the right time. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, sorry, we're just chatting. I don't feel like we're on a podcast anymore.
I mean, you guys answered like 3 questions in one go, so I was like, let's just let the tape roll. But but I guess the next question I wanted to jump into was so for the audience that doesn't know, the Playdate is this little console that fits. It's like smaller than my hand, basically. And one of the gimmicks behind it is that you play with a crank. And the screen is also 1 bit, so it's only black and white. I mean, you can get shades of black, but that's mostly what it looks like. So how did you guys end up deciding that y'all wanted to develop for the Playdate, and how did you end up hearing about it?
So a bit like Fayer just said, I had just left a job that was very corporate. Like I worked at Square Enix and then Rovio, like big studios, right? Big game companies. And through how the industry works, I didn't ship anything for I think 7 years because we were stuck in development hell, or projects got canceled, or both studios got closed actually. So I really needed to ship something. I really felt the need to finish a project and be proud of the work I do and have people play it, right? And to gain that momentum, to be able to have that confidence again to ship something, I thought starting small was the best idea. And the smallest scope possible, I think, is the Playdate. And it's not just that the scope is small, it's that it's kind of a perfect fit for me, as usually I'm a black and white artist, and I like kind of mechanics that are pretty simple and casual and, small scale in general. So it was kind of a perfect fit. And Fayer was just so interested in just making something small also, but also he has some experience in Lua, and I think it was a perfect fit, right?
Yeah, I think, well, I was at the end of my previous project, Arco, which also was a big thing, and it's also made in Lua. So I was like, all right, I can use these skills that I've been like getting better and better at in this new thing. The publisher for that game is also Panic, so that's how I got into how I got to play it, because they don't sell it in Mexico, and I got interested in doing something for it. I've been like pitching to the internal Arco team to try to make something also for it, but it was always like difficult while we were making the big game. So yeah, I think we landed on making something for Playdate like a year before it launched, like almost exactly. And we were like, all right, that makes sense. Let's try to find an idea. And that started the whole process of like figuring out what to do, how to do it. Yeah. And I think the good part of like how we work is that, again, we have other things to do, but I think at this point, we're like experienced enough to know like the how to make a full thing. And because I think at the beginning I started with like the idea and the prototype was like pretty simple. And I sent it to Dom, and Dom was like, "Oh, okay, I can see the like the bones of no pun intended, but like how this like a bigger version of this could work for like especially because we didn't know about the season at the time. We were like just trying to do a project for the platform, and then I think at some point like we started with that, and it stopped for a little bit, and then you had some time, so you did most of the art. I remember like. You just created all of the like base assets of the tiles and all those things. So I restructured the whole thing. And that's to me when it started to feel like, all right, we have something here that looks really good and feels nice. And then from there, like we mostly needed to pitch it to Panic to see like, all right, is this for the catalog? Is this something that we're gonna do on the side? And I don't remember exactly the timeline, but I think after we built that pitch and that like, all right, this is what we want to do with this. It was just, I think we sent it and they say like, oh, well, we're working on this secret thing. Will you be interested in that? And we were like, I mean, it depends, but like, sure. And it turned out to be the season. So we were like, yeah.
So you guys sent a pitch for Panic to help publish you, but they didn't even tell you that, well, I guess season 2 hadn't even been announced yet. They just were like, hey, you want to come on?
No, exactly. No. I think how it's kind of like that, but like you for the catalog, the store and the playdate, you have to pitch to them in order because they are the ones that release the games on there. So that was the pitch for. We were just like we're making this game for playdate. It looks that this is the general idea, this is the plan, and it like here's a demo if you want to check it. And it just we were so lucky that they were looking. I don't remember exactly if there was like an open thing or like I don't think so because people will have like known that the season was happening, the second season. So I think they just be like, oh, this looks exactly like the right fit for something that we're trying to do. Do you want to apply to that? And that's when they told us about the season. And so we applied, and I don't remember exactly how the process was, but at some point they told us like, yeah, sure, you're gonna be part of the season. And then we started working on this thing. I don't think it changed that much about like the idea, like the general idea. We didn't have like a finished game, but like we had the structure of it and what we wanted to do with it, but it definitely altered the way we worked on it because it was not just like something for fun anymore. It was going to be part of something bigger, which is the season. Exactly. So we also needed to be like, all right, let's try to make the best we can with this space and that it fits correctly into this bigger thing.
It did grow the scale a bit, I think, for me, because I kind of wanted to ship something extremely small, right? That was the point. So we had this core loop of digging and finding the bones and all that, but the whole narrative layer and then the whole like having 3 dig sites and all that, like that's something that maybe we would have cut down on if we were just releasing it for the store, for the catalog. But having it be part of season 2, we just wanted to make it a fuller experience, not just like a little toy or a little tiny game. So we pushed it a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, but I think the narrative was part of your pitch. I mean, we didn't know. I don't know how much you know what you wanted to do with that, but I remember it was an important part of the pitch to be like, there is gonna be a narrative related to like weird stuff around the dinosaurs, and I was like, sure. And that was something that because it wasn't clear what it was to me, because that's something that Dom wanted like added to the pitch. I was like, all right, sure. If we get time and we figure it out, we'll do it. And I think after the season, like acceptance, we were like, all right, then you started to develop that. I to this day, I don't know if I've seen the whole thing because I was so into like trying to make it work and putting all the pieces and all that I never like got like even after lunch, people like pointed to me that one of the characters is named like my son.
Yeah,
and I was like, I didn't see that because it's like I didn't. I was just like, oh, it works this part. Okay, I'm gonna move to the other parts that are not working right now.
Yeah. So let's. If I could talk about no, it's okay. If we could talk about the narrative for a second, it seems to be like a hodgepodge of like different conspiracies as the narrative descends from dinosaurs going into a bunker, which feels Lovecraftian, and then we get spoilers for I guess some of the levels. We get into like gems that cause mass evolutions to aliens. What was it like to be able to develop that basically?
The first intent was really to have motivation for people to keep digging, right? Because that's the key to the games. Like it's fun to dig up some dirt and find some things, but how many times would you really do it if you don't have a carrot on the stick that is a bit more important, right? So that was my first idea. Was like, what would make people surprised and keep being surprised throughout a game? And that was, conspiracies always do that, right? Like it's a rabbit hole. You start with like one thing that is a bit weird, and then you get into another thing that's completely messed up, and like it's all fake normally. Like please don't believe conspiracies. But in our case, it was like kind of a thread of like what happens if dinosaurs survive the meteor that kind of killed everything, right? And then I just pushed it. And like you said, Lovecraft is a big influence on, or Lovecraftian stuff rather, is a big influence on the narrative. So I just thought, yeah, let's push it into this slightly horror field and see what happens. And it was kind of natural to write out from that point, like what weird evolutions can they have, and what does that mean visually? Because the other thing was I wanted visual variety in the treasures and the artifacts and the bones that you find. So I didn't want it to just be like, another femur or another normal skull. I wanted it to be surprising and different. So that was kind of the source of that evolution and that difference.
So when you were designing the narrative, did you have like the 3-act structure? Because when you boot up the game, you'll see there's like 3 levels. Were you dead set on the 3, or were you just kind of crafting the narrative and then broke it into like 3 separate entities, basically?
I think the 3 came just from kind of finger in the wind, kind of trying to figure out how much content we could afford to do in the time we had, and how much variety really we could afford to do with the system that we had. And the number of layers also was like kind of like approximative, like 7-8 layers seems to feel good after a few upgrades, so we should do that. But the main reason why we split it in 3 is that at first we wanted like a super deep map that was like kind of infinite to dig in, but turns out that it was annoying to redo the top layers all the time to get to reach to the good stuff if there were like 40 layers to dig through or something like that. So we kind of split it into 3. And then made the second one and the third one kind of harder to dig through. Like there's a bigger energy cost there. So that's how we split it. But then kind of naturally, I wanted a punctuation of story. Like, you unlock the second dig site. That's a good place to put a newspaper to tell you a little bit more, confirm the story that you've been seeing through these objects and these bones. So that kind of happened naturally, and I think it fits really well. It was kind of cheap to make also, which is great for us. But I think it evokes a lot of different story beats and story ideas without being too in your face about it.
Yeah, I think I don't know how much is the way we designed or just the emergence of like the collaboration, but I think the base of the idea of like the gameplay side, it was solid immediately. Like it felt nice to do it, and it's just like a matter of pacing and like how deep and all of those things. Some emerge from like the technology, like there's some limits to the device and the way it handles things. And the original demo, the area to dig to like where you start was bigger, like it was bigger than a screen, so you could move around and explore it. But like it's difficult then to know where exactly start, and if you make it deeper. At the time, like the original thing didn't go deeper because I think it's one of the first things that we tested with your art, right, Dom, to like try to see if it was readable, to understand that you're deeper than a couple layers, and that's also a limit of how much layers that so a lot of the things just like started to like find their place between the code and the actual game that we were building, and the things that we could do without like getting to be like, all right, this is gonna take 100 more hours to just add a new layer or a new level or whatever, and it doesn't add anything to it's more just content and doesn't add anything to the experience really. I think a lot of the decisions ended up being like Dom always asks like, is this more interesting, or is this more like it makes you curious to like know more? If not, like why do it? So I don't remember there being like many arguments really, because it's also like to make a game for playdate is not easy in the code side because you don't have editors and stuff. So there's a lot of like just handling texts and numbers. So I think we both, and also like the art, it's not easy to make because you don't have the screen it's a great screen, but it's like, as you mentioned at the beginning, it's just like one color. So it's difficult to convey a lot of information there and all of those things. And the only thing I think at least myself, I'm not gonna talk for you, Dom, but that I was like, we couldn't find a way to do this, do time more than other things. Is just use the crank more, because there's the thing that makes the device different in a way. And we had an idea at the beginning to use for the tools and all that stuff, but because we ended up doing a system that is more action based, like you do something and it's an action and it costs stamina. Then doing it with a thing that is continuous, it will be like kind of chaotic, and we decided against it at the beginning. And it was like we always had an idea to like test the system to try to see if it will work better, but time never allowed us to like really get into that because there was always something else to do. I mean, we weren't like super pressured because we have enough time, but also we didn't want to invest a lot more than we know for like the space. At the end, the scope of the game is small-ish, and we landed in the perfect. Like we always since the beginning, I think we said like we're gonna make something that is like I don't know 4 to 6 hours of gameplay, and I think we ended up in exactly that space, and that's why it could have more levels, but I think. Or like deeper layers or whatever it is that we decided to do more at the moment, but it just felt like this is a natural place for it to be done.
I was also fine not having any crank in the game from the start.
Yeah. I think you forced me to change the controllers like immediately, and then you said like this feels way better, and then we never explored it. And I always said like if we find a way to use the crank that we use in the newspaper. It's like it would be nice to have something that is more, and there are other ideas for tools, but it's always like it seemed to get in your way for like the way the game was designed, or the actions and the way it works. So it was like it never occurred like, and there's a lot of games that use other things, use the crank in an interesting way. So we were like the odd one, and when we released, a lot of people praise us for it because it's like accessible to not require the crank that much, and we were like, oh, nice. That wasn't the intention, but like,
yeah,
it's good.
I love the crank in a lot of games. Just to be clear, I just never felt like it was mandatory, right? Like some people we talked to are like, oh, why didn't you use the crank? That's the play date. I'm like, yeah, but it's not. We're not forced to it. Like there was never a sign somewhere that says you have to find a use for the crank.
We asked, I think, right? Like when we were talking about the season, I think I asked maybe, or like we asked, or there was something there, and they were like, no, I mean, if you want to use it, but like it's not a need.
It's a tool, right? Like it's an option for things that could be more interesting or different. But to me, because we tried it on the radar, we tried it on the digging, or we wanted to try it on the radar. I don't remember if we tried it.
Like the original idea, the original demo had it on the, and like as you turn it, like it was on. But and then we had the idea of like instead of using energy, or stamina, we were gonna use the crank. But it was like again, that was got in the way more than it helped.
Exactly.
I know because the season 1 did stuff really similar. I know season 1 there's a game called Pick Pack Pup where the gameplay like to use the crank would be kind of monotonous because it's sort of like I don't want to say Tetris, but it's like match 3 gameplay. But the story is through like not a newspaper, but like a piece of paper basically, and use the crank
like a comic.
Yeah, it's a comic, and use the crank to go through the comic, which was like cute enough. It's like crank got used, good enough.
Yep, exactly. Check mark, done. Yep.
So a lot of the game it's basically a incremental game. So a lot of it's doing very repetitive tasks, slowly getting better, and repeating that over and over again. What decisions did you make that basically granted the game to have like quality of life features, so players weren't getting overly like bored with how repetitive it was?
I think it's the puzzle of the game, right? Like it's not a puzzle game, but there is a little bit of a puzzle in optimizing your digging, and that's where we give you quality of life upgrades. Like the bomb is maybe some slight spoilers on what upgrades are in the game, I guess. But there's a few tools in the game that just helps you in some situation where it is easier to clear this big pile of rocks if you have a bomb, or if you have this other upgrade will help you in this other situation. And so we're just trying to give you little tools to make you kind of feel good about your puzzle solving, and that really helps kind of create different small situations of like this weird shaped bone is under this rock, but also it has this on top and this other thing. It's just a little bit of a puzzle solving over there. And then we make sure that every time you finish a run or a day, you will have enough resources to get an upgrade that makes you feel good or better about your next run that you're gonna do. And just those two together, I think, is enough to have a comfortable loop. To make it like a fun little game to play in front of the TV and chill, you know?
Yeah, I think again to the earliest idea of the demo, it had like basic art, and which is just like icons for the things, and the loop was interesting. Like as you move through it, because you have a goal, like you have to find all these bones or whatever it is, and then it finished the session, and it kind of just like that was it, and it felt like immediately that's the thing to solve, to how to like keep it work like going forward. And I think the idea of like the bones look completely different to like each dinosaur, like each level that you check, like they change. That is enough to like at least like players like me that are into like the collection and seeing everything that the developers added to the thing. And then we created these other things like the artifacts, where are like the bones, like some other important collectibles that are not for resources but like more for like lore elements. And those things are always like a curiosity driver for people to be like, all right, I wonder what's next. And tied to the narrative, I think that adds enough of a motivation and curiosity to like just follow whatever is happening here. I also think that the short session and not having a lot of, like as Dom mentioned before, not having a lot of levels of deepness, it's important. So it doesn't last longer than is like fun. Or like again, like when you finish a run, you're not like, I'm so tired that I don't want to go back. I think another one is a huge driver. And a lot of comments earlier in like when the game was released were like, I finished this in one sitting, which we didn't advise to do. It's still a long kind of game, but like a lot of people just couldn't put it down.
That's what I
and
did.
Just continued. Yeah. How was that?
I remember at one point I was like, my girlfriend was like, "Yeah, you said we were gonna watch a movie together," and I was like, "Yeah." As soon as I finished this run, and then like an hour and a half had passed by, and she was reading a book, and I look over, I'm like, "Oh fuck." I told myself I was gonna just do a couple quick increments to prepare for the interview, and I just got through like over 2/3 of the game in one sitting.
That's what happens.
Yes. So I think that's the. I mean, it's not the goal of the game, but it's like at least to be as interesting and like simple to get back into. That it's not like you wanted to do it again, and that's why I left that decision of like doing another dig immediately instead of going back to the hub, so it didn't feel like you needed to do extra clicks or like go back to the, like, if you know already that you're like looking for this thing specifically or this number of resources and you didn't find it in the dig that you did, like you can do it again immediately and add those resources to the previous one. So I think a lot of those little decisions came from just like continue to like play it and feel it. It's a short, like the advantages of making a short game, besides it's short and is that you can play the whole thing pretty much or like understand it or keep it in your mind. So it's like easy to feel it like a player instead of just jumping to the moments. You like play the whole thing and you start to notice what is bothering you, so you can like optimize it, fix it, like or add a quality of life kind of thing.
And it's not like we invented this, right? Like there's a whole generation of Flash games that was basically built on that idea of a small loop that is repeatable and very, like you said, like incremental. And I just wanted to make these kinds of games again, right? Like I made Flash games for years in the past, and it was kind of to me, it was the golden era of game design, because we could just make something very fun at its core and just put a bunch of content on top of it, or like narrative if you wanted, but mostly just content.
After a while, it started to feel almost like a rhythm game, because it was like once you had enough upgrades and you knew what you were looking for, it was just dig, hit a rock or a bone I've already found, bomb, dig. It's just I would like make patchworks of like 2 blocks, then dig straight down, 2 blocks, dig straight down until I found what I was looking for.
It's the satisfaction of being good at something, right? Like you built a rhythm or you understand your set of tools that you have, and now you can just be good at it and you can just execute it in a very efficient way. And that feels good. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the world we live in now, but I'm having that little satisfaction when I come home from work and I just want to play a little game. It just feels good. I don't want to be grinding. I don't want to be, feeling bad about playing a game. This just feels good. It's just a little satisfaction for your brain.
Yeah, I think it's like a companion game, like, and my expertise was on mobile games, which is kind of like the evolution of the Flash games. It's another kind of device that can do many things, but like a lot of people found a way to make this not the kind of stage that we find ourselves with mobile games now, but like at some point there were a lot of like interesting, and then like every week another interesting game released, or like a bunch of them, and like people were exploring the same ideas. I think just having a device that is not where you cannot check socials or do other things that like focus you on the game. It's just like that's what attracted me immediately to the Playdate, to have this thing that is for games that is small, so it doesn't. I mean, you can make a huge game, as we've seen them through the season and like on release in general, but like making something small is also like it fits nicely into the device. And again, like if you have multiple of them, like having one that is doesn't. I mean, obviously people have been playing it like on like directly going in and finishing in one sitting, but like if you can like jump to different other games that you have, that's also like, probably why Panic found it interesting for the season, because it's something that plays nice with other games. It doesn't try to monopolize your attention.
Oh, that would. So you think that's why they put you guys as like one of the first releases, so they could play Dig Dig Dino casually while going through the other releases?
Yes. Exactly, and they told us something in that vein, and we were like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. People will play, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, over the next, 6 weeks or whatever." But turns out a lot of people finished it immediately. A lot of people are just like, "Yeah, we finished it." Like, yeah, but it was just released like 4 hours ago.
Yeah, they immediately got into it. Yeah, I think probably. I mean, we don't really have an understanding or why. It's just like they just told us like this is the plan, and I think it's still a surprise which other games are gonna release in which time. We only knew our partner and which week we were gonna go on. So I was kind of nervous about like opening the season because there was the promise of the play date, which it's in the name, is that like people get together in a way to like play it, and the season, which is the thing that happened immediately, the first one, but it didn't realize this vision because a lot of people got it whenever they got it. Like there are some people getting the device now, and there are others that got it immediately or like as a check kind of dev kit or something. So they're not. It was difficult to follow it in like a club kind of like a book club kind of situation. And I think nobody knew if the second season will happen, but like now that they put it together, and I think people are understanding again, like, oh, just all of us together doing this thing at the same time. It's kind of like a neat format for just getting people to discuss, and it allows you, like, sometimes you don't like a game of like at the like from the season, but you like the other, so you get more into that. But it also like forces you to like play both and like sample them, and then have discussions with other people that are like you because they have the device and they are into this space of design. So I mean, it's really curious that like the other similar thing that released like recently is like the UFO 50 game, which kind of fits that thing. And both are like kind of on the same space. But yeah, I mean, I think when they told us about the season, we were like, oh, that would be great to be part of that. And then we got in, so we work a lot and trying to do the best. We didn't know. I don't remember at what time we met the other developers. There's a discussion with the other developers to understand, but like we were all focused on our own thing mostly. And then when they told us that you're gonna open it, and with Fulcrum, which is the only from the games that were shown and the previous announcement, and they chose also us to be one of the faces on the announcement. And then I think, but the one that got the most attention was Fulcrum, so I was worried about like, it's gonna be.
Oh, they were the devs of like FTL. That's kind of like a pedigree to follow in a weird way.
Oh yeah, absolutely no shame in being in their shadow for a week, But
that was my worry. That a lot of people are gonna pay attention. It's good to be next to the other thing that got a lot of attention because we're gonna get attention by just proximity. But it's like it's an unfair comparison because we're also like a more casual game that is like no stress. And their game is completely, it's the opposite. But I think it also paired nicely because then like you go and stress out with that game, and then you come back and play a couple sessions. So it's like a nice pair. And I think mostly in general, what they've been doing with like the release of the season has felt like that in a way. Like it's nice pairings of understanding how people will interact with these things and the discussion that they're gonna have about it. And I mean, it's incredible to be a part of this, and it's so fun.
One question I've been thinking about, because I imagine, to me, this would be one of the hardest parts. how do you make like dozens of different dirt layers to be both visually different and distinctive from the different levels from 1, 2, and 3, because they're all technically themed a little differently? It just looks like it would be so monotonous and horrific when you only have 2 colors to work with.
It was honestly, no joke, one of my favorite parts of this project. and I'm still kind of amazed that it works. Like it kind of shouldn't, right? Because we don't, like, it doesn't look any deeper. We just put a little shadow at the top, and it's a little bit of a bigger shadow, I think, if you dig further down. But that's it. Like that's all we do. And then the rest was just me playing with the pixel art, because also with the black and white pixels, there's not that much you can do at that scale. So I was just trying every single pattern that I thought looked different enough from each other to feel like you went to a different layer. And then I went back to the narrative a little bit, thinking like, oh, so again, what would be surprising in terms of what you find at the bottom? And that's when you start finding, kind of almost like pyramid bricks, and then you start finding some weird alien-ish patterns at the bottom. And that's enough of a visual progression, that you feel like you're digging deeper. And then when you get to the second dig site, you're like, holy shit, there's 7 new visuals for this. But it was just so much fun. Like I don't know, I'm proud of these. I think I made so many more than are in the game too. Like it's kind of a fun abstract art form also.
Yeah, I think what was one of the first, I think, discussions that we have about it. Like, we have to find a way to show like that deepness in like the layers and all that. And I think you have a sketch where you did this like discovery of like, if you go deeper, you add like shadows on top of the tiles, and there's no need to like go deeper than like a couple layers, because like at some point there's like, it doesn't matter that much, like it's just to tell like, am I 1 below or 2 below, and then from there like too many below. And then the items and stuff, and then you like send me like some tile tests, and it was really easy to implement as well on my side, and I felt it, and I was like, this is it. Like, we don't really need more. And then you have this checkered pattern as well. So like, like you made it, and I just and you explained it to me, and I added it, and it just worked immediately. It's one of those things that it works, and it seems like a difficult problem, and I wouldn't be able to do it, because that's not how I think. But like and we had discussion. You figure something out. You send it to me, and it's like, all right, there's no input needed. It's like, it just works, and it's perfect, and let's move on to the other things. But it, like, from outside, it might feel like it's one of those things that you go, oh, if you don't it might ruin the game if you don't find a way to convey that, because it just feels boring. And I think one of the most powerful things that we have in the game, like from screenshots and stuff, is just that it doesn't matter, because of the randomness and like how it's like all structured. Anything that you see, even the interface is kind of repetitive, because it's the same. Like, every time you dig, it's just completely different. So you can get a lot of information, but you're looking at it and just placing like deepness, items, and stuff. Like, it's always interesting to see. And so I don't know. I love to look at it.
There's a lot of iteration that we did there. Like, it seems pretty straightforward, but we iterated on this like 100 times, right? Like the way things are distributed, the way I did on my end, like the way the visuals are kind of in a checkered pattern, but there's a few random ones that are different, so that it doesn't feel like a pattern. There's a few like little details like this that we just iterated on with every version of the game. Like, the first version of the game was good, it was fine, but basically this is Dig Dino 7 that we share, because of all.
And there is also a lot of like quality stuff there, because for example, me, I don't like when talking about like the way we like decide what it's gonna be on the layers. I don't like when like you're looking for one bone, or the last thing, and it's not, like, it might take you 100 tries, because it's the randomness never lands on it, So I almost all the time that I do games that need something like that, I always like do a safe. That is like, if you're only looking for like the last 3 bones or whatever, it's always gonna be present in the thing. It's gonna be deep down, but it's gonna be there.
It's gonna
to
help
guarantee
you.
that like you find them and you're not like just like digging 100 times and you're getting frustrated because it's the last thing.
I worried about that when I completed the game. I had like 2 bones left, and one of them was just like one big, and I'm like, this is gonna be a nightmare. I hit 3 layers, instantly found the bone. I went, oh, okay. I think the devs probably thought of this then.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things that like some games don't do it, and I just get angry at them because like just like I'm just missing one thing, and I wanna, and it's keeping me at 99%, and I just wanna be done with it, and I don't have the patience to like just wait infinitely for it to happen and the randomness of it, and so most of like I think Dom at some point like just shared an Excel document that had all the the like some numbers to like be able to like spread stuff, and I just like added a system to be like, all right, just put whatever in there, and this is how it works, more or less. I make some decisions here and there, and then just fill it out, and if we need something like stronger or like more interesting, we can do it. But I think most of the time we're like not full random, but like halfway there, it's enough for the way it works. And it, I think at the end, is the kind of system that we ended up like. It didn't after, it's mostly the sign that like the number changing the numbers, but like the way that it's structured, it kind of worked.
I worked with programmers once that were like, whenever I tried to bring an addition to a system that made it better, like these kind of things were like, oh, there's some exceptions, or like if you're on the last 2 bones, we should help you get them. And the programmers were always like, that's so complicated. Why would we do that? And I'm like, yeah, that's what makes the system good, is when there's these little extra rules and little things that make it softer or easier for the player.
That's
I think the first thing
is to code it.
Yeah.
I think the first thing that you learn, like once you have a designer mentality as well as a programmer, is that there's no perfect systems, and it doesn't matter. Like at the end, like we always go back to that Iwata phrase of like, your job is just to do whatever the designer wants. And once you like understand what, like, because just going against design is just so dumb in general, to be like, no, it's difficult. And like, yeah, but like we didn't choose to make games because it's easy to do. At the end, it makes something more interesting, unless like, and that's also like something so important to like, once you have that mindset of design, to understand like what it's those decisions add or remove. Like if they add interest, like again, like curiosity or interest for the player, then it's worth it. Or if they remove frustration, like not needed frustration, because the game is frustrating in a sense because you have to do this thing over and over and over again. But like another thing that it's immediately happening in the game is like, again, like this demo had like the structure was like find the things and you win. If you don't find them, you lose. And so you have to like find them all the time. And in this case, it was like, well, you're gonna do this thing over and over again. It's better if you always amount to something. And that gave us the upgrades, and that gave us the other collectibles, and that gave us eventually like also like the, once you have the bones, like doing the analysis of them and like just recreating the dinosaur from them. It's also another interesting moment that like it requires a lot of work for you to see that special thing, and then you're like, oh, I wonder how the other looks. So like it's not just about like finding the thing that the game is telling me to find because it's needed. It's also because it just looks really cool.
I think that's
one of my just one last thing. One of my design principles is always design the worst possible experience to still be good. And like if there's a chance that the player has a really bad experience, like because of random or because they just the last bone just never spawns with the randomness, we need to fix that. And honestly, not a lot of people like get on board with that idea when I talk about it. Because they're like, oh, it's like 1 in 10,000 chance that a player has a bad experience. We don't care. No, we do care.
No, it's also the probability of, in this situation for this kind of games, of that happening. It's gonna happen because if you just leave it to full random and it's only one of the things, it's always gonna be like, if there is the randomness is like one of each bone, and it's like, I don't know, like 50 bones in the level, and it's gonna choose one. It's 1 in 50. So and it might just go longer than that because you're not lucky, or the one that when it spawned, you didn't get to it. So that's also like one of the other power-ups that is really interesting is the dog. It just points you to the the next bone that is like next to the position that you are, which is like fun. Like I think the side power-ups that are not needed, like the drill and like the things that are needed, you know, like you need to open more. But like the other ones are like, and we had some other random ideas for like adding more of those, which is just like it's just fun. Like the Raider was a thing that we argued a lot about because I added it. It's the first thing that I added to the game. It was part of the original demo, and Dom, you never liked it. It's not a fun thing to use in the game. And I would say like, well, it doesn't really matter because you have other options, so might as well keep it because it's already there. I think it's fun how it looks, even if it's not as usable. And there are some strategies that are good to use it. But like the bombs, I think were like the ones that I think you pitched them, and I was like, doesn't seem like it adds too much. And then I implemented them, and it just works, and it's like fun. And then it opens some like random shenanigans, like you blowing up. Like a lot of people complain about like, oh, I don't like when the corner hits one of the important items and it disappears. And like, well, don't place the bomb there. It's like, well, it's not the place that I can place it. And it's like, don't use the bomb there. Then it's like it's one of those design decisions, like we could have like allowed you to like explode, but in the canon of the game, it felt like it made sense to. If the explosion, it's breaking the stuff, even if it's deeper than the layer that it is. It just makes sense. And it took a lot of time to fix all of the different emerging situations from making that decision. But I just wanted it to work like that. And a lot of people have complained. I think it's the only complaint in the game. It's like, I don't like when that happens. It's like, well, I just find it funny. It's one of those things that you do because you can.
It's sort of how, like, I felt like a real archaeologist, because I remember reading accounts of when they were looking for Troy, they were digging in an area, and by digging, I mean using dynamite and blasting through the mountains. They would, like, discover a different Bronze Age civilization, and they're like, that's not what we're looking for, and they would just keep blowing through them, and they would, like, just... So that's what it felt like, because I'd be like, is that the bone I need? Nah, that's not it. Blow it up. We're gonna keep digging.
Blow it up, guys. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's because I always play with intent. Like I took it slowly, that I never made those kind of things. But I've seen that a lot of people are just, and you mentioned it as treated as a rhythm game where you just like dig, bling, and then just they change tools and they go again. And so it's like a change to like the drill and then go back and all of those things. So it's kind of interesting to see people complain and like some placements and stuff because of how they like got to play it. And we never found that because it's not like a problem. Problem is one of those like emerging situation of like how you decide to do the things. Yeah. This one, another thing that is really, I always made it like so that I wanted almost to develop a system to do that, like to force that situation is when you find a bone and you're like your stamina is almost not enough to find it, but sometimes you like strategize how to do it and you're like digging in. It's like, I hope I don't find a rock because maybe that's gonna make it not achievable. And if you get it or don't, but you're like near there, that's always so interesting when like it feels like it's frustrating when it's not there and you're like, oh, it was just like a couple more stamina things and now that might be it. But like when it feels like when you get it, you're like, oh yeah, I almost didn't get it, but I get it. So it's always like it's a strong feeling moment, and that's something that I was like, if I can force this to happen, but it's like it will be I don't even know how to approach it, but I was like, I don't think I can do that, but like that would be like a perfect way to like create those kind of moments or like force those kind of moments to emerge. But I think naturally they happen a lot, so doesn't need it to like happen by like forcing it.
And it works for players. Like it's the end of their session. They get a bit of frustration, but immediately after they get money and then they can buy something. Like it's kind of smoothed over by this little
the whole experience
event there.
So I think for the last bit of the podcast, we're gonna enter spoiler territory, so I can talk about the end of the game. Anyone that doesn't want spoilers, now's the time to hop off. Check the link for the link for everything, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I remember digging and hitting the ground, and I'm at the third level, and I'm like, this texture looks deliberate. And then I ignored all the bones. I'm just digging through the ground, and I find the vault, and I'm like, oh no, I'm scared now. So that
if you've read any Lovecraft, you know that this is not going to be good for you.
No. So what was, I guess my question would be, what was the focus to have the launch title of the game of Season 2 be this really cute anthro game that then just devolves into Lovecraftian nightmare where the end of the world is your own doing?
it's one of my pillars is always surprise. Like you need to be surprised by a game. If it's just the thing you expect that keeps happening, it's boring and it's never going to keep you interested in the game. So I always think, how can I push it further than people think it would go, and that's how you land on what's the worst thing the dinosaurs could find at the bottom of the earth.
Just an alien from another dimension, basically.
Yeah, and the rest is kind of just from the visual language. Like we had crystals. I wanted to have these crystals be the mutation because it feels like something you would find down like in the earth, right? Like some kind of weird gem or rock. And then from that evolved the mutated. And then from the mutated, I thought, oh, what kind of alien would make them mutate in that way? And then just adding eyes was a good visual kind of hint that this dinosaur is not quite right. It has too many eyes. So from that you get the little eye aliens, and then from that you get what is at the bottom. Then it has to be the ultimate version of that, which is just a giant eye alien or god or elder god kind of thing. And it's kind of natural, but it's pushed as much as I can.
It's funny that a lot of people commented on the ending and like like share it and like, what is this? But it's at some point a lot of people were like, oh, I'm playing this with my kid and blah blah blah, and then other people started to say like, hey, just
be careful.
I don't be wary about like because of the story and blah blah blah. And I was like, that is so interesting because I never thought like that will be a requirement to just to warn people about like it's not cruel or bad or anything.
No, it's still cartoony, right? Like the last newspaper. Going full spoilers. Like the last newspaper is very much just like the giant elder god comes out and it's very cartoony. It's not like people fucking exploding or bleeding from their eyes or something. It's not that.
I fucking love the last newspaper where there's just one caption that's like, I guess dinosaur bones are less important.
Yeah. And also
there is the one about like you maybe get a raise or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's like
because you were the one that did all the work.
Because the whole time you were an intern, right? And that's the funny part is that you're not being paid for any of this. And then maybe you'll get a promotion at the end. That's so funny.
So that was going to be my next question. What did you write that was more evil? A cult that takes over the world, or the fact that all of the labor is done by an unpaid intern?
I think that's the most evil for sure.
That was the real evil all along.
At the end, it's just a critique of game dev, like it is what we were trying to tell people. But it's I don't remember at what time this thing developed, because at the beginning it was just like bones and I think the general idea of the narrative was like this civilization of dinosaurs. Like, what if they didn't die and they just continue to like do something? And then I was just deep into programming and figuring out stuff and all that when like Dom started to send stuff and I just plug it in. And then at some point it's like, well, there's gonna be these creature aliens in the last level that are gonna give you this other resource. And I, new resource. Okay, I got it. And like, well, they're gonna behave different. Like, yeah, sure. What's gonna happen? And I was like, just fully, like having this, just like focusing completely on like getting it done. And that I'd never like paid attention. And I was like, at some point I was like, oh, what?
Yeah,
and then I pay attention. Like,
that's how shit hits the fan in a lot of these Lovecraft. You're like, oh, it's just a bunch of cultists. It's not that bad. And then it just becomes the most horrific thing.
I was the intern all along. I was like, just getting into it, and I'm just gonna have to dig again, and eventually like, oh, what are these aliens and things happening? At some point, I think I pitched a boss for the ending, and but we didn't have the time.
But I think. Even for me, it happened gradually because I don't think I would have landed on this if I just rolled the whole thing in one go at the very start of the project. I think it's by doing kind of the visual evolution, working on the first dino on the first layer, and then what would be the next evolution, and then working on that one, and then kind of reaching the natural extreme conclusion of what is at the bottom of the world. And it was kind of nice for me. It was kind of like story archaeology for myself. Like, I figured out the story by digging into it myself. It was really fun, to be honest.
Oh, it was definitely entertaining. I found an artifact like right before I hit level 2 that was like in something called From Below, and I thought, well, that's ominous. All right, level 2, here we go.
Yep.
I didn't think, I was like, that doesn't sound good, but fuck it, this is a cute game. And then we got to the alien eyes, and I was like, okay, you are correct. There are too many eyes on this dinosaur. I don't like this.
there is something kind of, I don't know, relevant nowadays too, of like how much there is horrible things happening, and we see hints of it all the time. We just keep working. We just keep going to work every day. We just keep digging. It doesn't matter, you know. Yeah.
So a lot of the game is the layout is told through like these little newspaper cutouts. Do y'all happen to have like a passion for newspaper layouts by chance, or did you go out and buy like a Mexico Times newspaper so you could like know the layout and how it should be? Because you nailed the whole like, I don't know, what is it with newspapers and having all the boxes be in random fucking places?
But it still works, right? It's still satisfying to look at. Yeah.
I'm not used to reading newspapers because I'm from a small town that didn't get them like the big ones when I was younger. So it always felt so confusing to read. Like it's so difficult as well because you have to like a parent from a 90s cartoon or something. You have to open it like the full thing and then be sitting in like a big chair to be able to like spread it and read the section that you want. So I think like the cranking of the big page felt natural for that kind of space. I think if we will made it like a news, like a modern news, on a computer, we will have to like emulate the like bunch of ads popping up and stuff and like blocking the view.
No, I think I like the idea of. I think from my experience, I never really read the rest of the article in newspaper. Like I always read the first page and it says continue page 16. I'm like, nah, I don't care. I got the gist of the idea of this article. So that was the hint to me that that's a way to like hint at a story without having to write it all, but also having to read it all as a player. Like I don't want to read like five pages of text about something that happened. I just want to know there's aliens now, or there's we found crystals now. That's fine. That's good enough, right? So that I feel like that's kind of a fun little cheat that we found by doing this. I might use it again in different forms in the future.
I've also always hated newspapers because you open them and then the inner pages like fall out.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate you. Why couldn't you have just stapled this together?
Yeah. Most of it is ads anyway. So what's the point?
And I think it's designed to like so you can split it and like just keep the sports section or something, but like it's also like it's really confusing. We've lost the ability to understand how the older generation handled that big piece of paper. Now we need manga. Manga is readable and understandable and well designed. But I think once you did, I don't know if it happened before or after, but we had the idea of doing comics because. I mean, we've seen many playdate games, and it's like pretty simple to structure it with the crank and all that. Like that's what we were gonna do. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It requires a lot of art to say kind of the same things. And I don't know if you send me the big newspapers and I put it in the thing and then I was like, well, but now we need to introduce them in a way, and we did it like the big news, like the rotating them and it just feel nice, and you're like, all right, that's a good opening for this. Then you open it and then you like kind of like skim them because you don't really read them. There's not much to, like a couple sentences of art.
So I guess my final question to leave off on, and you can answer your own game as an easy out, what is your personal favorite game you've played so far on season 2?
Go ahead.
It's a game that is not released yet, so.
Oh, okay. Well,
but yeah, ours is pretty fun. I like it a lot. I played way too much of it too. Like I played.
You played a lot of Fulcrum also, right?
Yeah, I played a bunch of Fulcrum. But like Dino, I probably played like 100 hours of it because of testing. So I don't think I can play it again, but it is definitely a good game.
It's one of those things that I.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm excited to play Whiteout. I know nothing about it, so I'm very excited to just discover something new also.
Yeah, I was gonna say that we know that we made a decent game, like we're experienced enough to know how to build something that it's a game. But like seeing a lot of people react good to it, I kind of like got sad that I couldn't experience it because it's such a game that I would got really into. And I was like, oh man! But then I got Lung Puppy, and Lung Puppy is it's kind of my Dig Dino, in the sense of like, I don't know, it's a simple kind of gameplay, and it tells full of interesting things, and it has a P diary, I think it's how it's called, and it's neat. And my friends from Mexico also made Cacha Diablos, and that's one of the I think it's currently the one that it's out, and that's one of the games that I paid attention to from before, because I know them, and they sent me an early build, and I just got really into it. But at the time they had a bug that deleted all the saves, so I just lost. Like I got to the end, but like I never like finished it, and it's a game that makes your hands hurt a lot. It's kind of weird in many decisions, but I just love the aesthetics and the idea of it. So that's the one I think that was to me, again, not paying too much attention to the other ones at the beginning. I was like, this is such a solid Playdate season 2 game. Like it just in general, it just felt like the right kind of game for the structure and all that. And I loved it a lot, but I think it's also hard, which I don't really like that much. But it's really fun. But Lung Puppy is the other one that I was like, oh, this is this I feel is what other people were discovering of our game. It's one of like, I don't have to think too much. It's not stressful. It has a couple of stresses here and there, but I turn them off, so I can, I can just like play it as a more casual game, and I've been enjoying it.
So I think that about covers everything. So guys, thanks for coming on. Fayer, thank you for being a second time guest, a first for the podcast. So if you if you guys want to shout out anything, any social media links, any projects you're working on, one gentleman shout out a local pizza place. Please do not dox yourself like the last guest 2 weeks ago did.
I would say just make games, make small games, and don't let capitalism crush you. That's my shout
out. What else can we add to that? Don't work for free, maybe. Don't be an unpaid intern if you can. I know sometimes you have to.
If a big door at the bottom of the world, don't open it.
Exactly. But it should be your decision. You always have the decision. Don't let others push you into situations you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
And other than that, if you have the season and upload it, play your game. And if you do, let us know if you like it. And if you don't let us know.
And play Arco.
Play Arco, yeah, that's the other thing. I'm also working on another game that is gonna release soon. That I made similar to this. I just made a fun demo that it's called Pancito Merch. It's like kind of like a Suica like game with like inspired from or made with like local breads from Mexico, like local bakery. And people are playing it and it's fun. I'm gonna release a bigger version eventually, but like for now there is a demo on Steam. It's called Pancito Merch. That's the latest thing. And that's it.
Alrighty, so thank you guys for both coming on. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter and Bluesky. Down below, there'll be links to both of those in my link tree, which will also have a link to my Ko-Fi, where all donations are appreciated and help the channel grow. And aside from that, I think that about covers everything, so bye!
Bye!
Bye!